Well, I wouldn't. Well, I haven't in any case yet. I talked to part of my family in New York. But I'm in the dark, too. I don't know what's happening over there.
What do you think, sir, is likely to be the effect now on the Negroes in America of the whole idea of Negro versus Negro?
Well, of course, that has always been a kind of hidden, hidden that is from the white world anyway, more or less, drama. It has to do, among other things, with the fact that although people are arbitrarily described as black or white, it has a great social effect on them, or a psychic effect. It doesn't really describe them, so that there have always been a great many factions and wars and disagreements, naturally, inevitably, among the people who are legally Negroes in the United States. I should think that Malcolm's death, would increase this dissension 100-fold.
As far as you know,
well, it's impossible to predict. That the kind of thing that happened, and Malcolm's power over the people, whom he talked to, was something which came from him. There certainly is not on the scene at the moment, as far as one can tell, anybody, with those particular attributes. But that doesn't mean that there may not be somebody by 5 o'clock this afternoon. We don't know. I'm terribly sorry. I'm one of the people, who would like, whatever we have to accomplish. It's much too soon for anyone to say. Certainly too soon for me. It will certainly have. I think one can certainly say this, it will certainly have a very demoralizing and very bitter effect on the young people. Even, and this, I don't mean necessarily people who supported Malcolm. I simply mean that it's very hard to describe the situation in a northern ghetto, in a northern city. But he was a kind of hero only because at least he had the courage to try to tell, the truth. And it's a very great loss. And of course, in the minds of the American Negro population, it has to be. And in my mind too, one more, of the crimes, committed against the Negro population. And one doesn't know how long this can possibly go on. We're all in great danger. I mean, white and black.
Do you fear this is the beginning of violence within the Negro community?
Well, of course, one has lived with that terror for so long that, of course, I fear it. I fear that. But I feared it when the kids were blown up in Birmingham. I feared it when Medgar Evers was shot. One feared it when the civil rights workers' bodies were found. It's quite we've lived through quite a record.
You made a statement immediately after the assassination was made public and said to the people of Europe, it's your morality that's at fault. Could you explain that?
I mean that the whole concept of color, is something, after all, which came out of the north of Europe and which had and has until today, very definite social and economic bases. That the legend about colored people invented by white people is in part a legend designed to protect white people from any vivid apprehension of what their history and what their achievements have meant to black people. Certainly, the cities in which we live in America, and the shacks in which we live in the Deep South, the fact that one doesn't have the vote, none of this is an act of God. It is a deliberate social policy. It is deliberately hammered into place, and it does reveal, something terrifying about the morality of the people who call themselves white, the morality, in fact, of the Western world.
The following of Malcolm X was a minority following among Negroes. Is there a successor that you see that will try now to organize his supporters?
Well, it's an impossible question to answer. In the first place, one one can't say quite so blandly that it was a minority support. It was impossible to be an American Negro and not feel some identification with some of the things he said, since after all, that what he was describing was your actual situation. You know, no one knows, the extent of the black Muslim following, but I know, that in my own case, though I was opposed to the Muslim movement, did my best, let's say. One would hope to do one's best, not to ever tell your child, that he had the right to kill another child or another person because that child was black or white, But I could not myself, do anything about the real estate lobbies which keep all those children in jail. I can only ask, one can only hope that some kind of spiritual energy, which is very hard to reach, will prevent disaster, but it's a gamble. In the meantime, the Republic, in effect, does nothing. The situation gets worse.
Thank you very much.
No, this remarks because in fact I'm interviewing you from behind the camera. My wife is picking out the